Millions of people around the world are now taking GLP-1 medication semaglutide, known as Ozempic or Wegovy, or the GLP-GIP medication tirzepatide, also called Mounjaro or Zepbound, for weight management, diabetes, or other weight-related health issues. While both medications are highly effective for average weight loss, there's a huge variability in response from person to person, meaning some people can experience as much as 25 or 30% weight loss, whereas about 1 in 10 people experience less than 5% weight loss. Gastrointestinal tolerance, so that's the presence or absence of nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, and so forth, to GLP based medication is also highly variable across the spectrum from no GI side effects at all to mild side effects to severe side effects that result in complete intolerance to treatment. A fascinating study recently published in Nature conducted a full genetic analysis of over 27,000 people using the 23andMe database to see if they could find any genetic variants associated with weight loss response and/or with GI side effects. Participants were people who responded to a survey and who had reported using at least one of the GLP-1 semaglutide or the dual GLP-GIP agonist tirzepatide. This could have been prescription medication or compounded. And just as a sidebar, don't use compounded medication. I've blogged more on that. See the link for a connection to another blog I posted on that. This study found a genetic missense variation allele or mutation in the GLP-1 receptor that was associated with greater weight loss, although this effect size was pretty small, so only about 3/4 of a kilo more weight loss per allele, so maximum 1.5 kilos or about 3 pounds difference for people with 2 copies of that allele. While it's really exciting to find one genetic association, that doesn't go far to explain the huge variation in weight loss response that we see from one person to the next. What I thought was much more impressive was their finding of associations linking variation in both the GLP-1 receptor and the GIP receptor to medication-related nausea or vomiting. They identified 2 genetic variants near the GLP-1 receptor gene, one linked to a 57% higher likelihood of vomiting and another to a 36% higher chance of nausea. People carrying a specific GIP receptor variant were 83% more likely to vomit with tirzepatide treatment. The GIP variant is thought to partially disrupt GIP receptor function, suggesting that the higher likelihood of vomiting might reflect a reduced ability of tirzepatide's GIP activity to buffer the nausea-inducing effect of the GLP-1 component, a mechanism that GIP has been suggested to have in animal studies. So these findings need to be taken with a big grain of salt. This was an analysis based on self-reported information from survey respondents. People who didn't respond to the survey could be different from people who did respond to the survey. Also, some of the findings are in conflict with findings from other studies published previously. That being said, this study suggests that we're onto something here, and these early days of wading into the genetic analyses field may ultimately lead us to develop an ability to predict who may or may not respond to particular weight management medications and who may or may not tolerate them well. As a disclaimer, I am or have been an investigator in clinical trials of semaglutide, which is Ozempic or Wegovy, and tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro or Zepbound. I receive honoraria as a continuing medical education speaker and consultant from the makers of semaglutide, Novo Nordisk, and tirzepatide, Eli Lilly.